Hello and welcome to this week's Energy Shot podcast. We are Matt Taylor and my name is Nicole Ercolani, and we have produced this podcast series in order to give you like a Kabbalistic astrology update each week, like what's going on with the stars and the planets and the asteroids, and some practical coaching tools, healing tips, some like day-to-day practices that you can use in order to uplift your experience as a human here on planet Earth. Hi Matt, how are you?
Oh yes, I try and do that. I'm very excited because I've just booked my trip to come and see you in Switzerland. Yes, that's very nice, isn't it?
It's the best.
Nicole and I are going to hang out for a week in August.
Yeah.
That's very lovely. So, and I've never been to Switzerland before, so very excited.
We have to do something.
I'll practice my German.
Plan a whole Swiss trip. Like if anybody else wants to come, book yourself in. We're renting a bus.
Yes.
20 people coming to Switzerland, like, okay, we're ready. Let's go.
We're ready to go. We're at your house.
So funny.
It'll be so cool. I know, I'm looking forward to it. And we're sort of in a very humid heat wave here in Spain. So I know it's hot in Switzerland, but the thoughts of not being in this kind of humidity is very pleasant.
Yeah.
Being up in the mountain with a little bit of air. It's very lovely.
I hope there is some air because currently there is no air here as well.
You don't have air either.
It's very humid. Like you're sweating while sitting. I never did that before, but this is the case now. So
well, I'm already prepared for that.
Yeah, so you know the drill. But we don't get air conditioned here. The only air conditioned places are grocery stores and like
sushi stores.
Yeah, sometimes.
Oh, right, we're going sitting there for the.
Yeah.
And just take one bit of sushi because it's going to cost us 100 euros.
Yeah, like very
every time. Like, eat one rice bit at a time.
Well, very nice and cool in here. I like it.
No, we're just eating our rice like one rice bit at a time.
Yeah, you bring a book to the grocery store. Okay.
And you read and you push the trolley a little bit like this.
Would be fine. No.
Okay. We'll find a lake and we'll sit in it.
Yeah.
That'll do. If we can't sit in the sushi store, they kick us out. Yes.
We won't need that.
Astrology. That's right. I remember now.
No. I mean, we can talk about that. I love it.
Yeah, we can talk about that. So we are in the final week of Gemini, and people who are been listening a bit know that when you end a cycle or you're coming to the end of something, the energy heats up, right? It gets more. So as we get to the end, more Gemini, we're feeling more of it. What is Gemini? It's really about transference, between me and another person. So it's thinking, it's speaking, it's talking, it's interacting, making new friends, socializing, all of that, right? So this has been a month where perhaps we go out more, or it's typically when we socialize more, we might market more, brand more, tell longer stories and pass more information. Yes, so we can have the ability to tell 5 stories that interweave and, over long periods of time. We also have the ability to absorb more information. So we have the patience to actually indulge this amount of information that flies around in Gemini. So the strengths of Gemini are its speed, its ability to transfer things, move things, right? It's all about the move. In fact, sometimes if we want to look at short distance travel, or if we want to look at how things move from one point to another, or if we want to look at process, we look at the planet Mercury or at the sign of Gemini, because it's really got this transference in it, particularly of information. On the higher level, Mercury is the closest planet to the sun, so that's why we have this speed aspect, because it moves around the sun so quickly, and it's closest to the sun representing the creating force as a physical element in this universe. And therefore because the Mercury is so close, it emanates, or it reflects what the sun is doing. So as the sun is sharing out, Mercury is kind of sharing out as well, but it's passing out the messages, the information, the guidance that we need. So when we're in a higher level, right, we are really tapping into messages or information that we need. Yes? On the lower vibration, when we're in the chaos of Gemini, we are coming from logic. We are coming from only what we can see in the frame of nature that we exist, right, in the physical reality. And then we start to apply logic.
Mhm.
Logic, for us, logic is sequential. It makes sense. It seems so obvious, but we are. The problem is that we're in an illusionary world where things are moving all the time. So the minute I say something is good or bad, it's relative, right? Because what Nicole says is good for her might not be good for me, and vice versa. Also, what I say is good for me might not be the case, and maybe turn out that it's not so good for me. And what I say is bad for me might not turn out, right? So this is a very big Kabbalistic teaching that when we judge something and we put it in the tree of good and evil, right? The coding is the tree of good and evil, which is this is good for me, this is bad for me, this is right, this is wrong. And our brain is wired to do that. That's all it's wired to do. So while we think we're doing complicated thoughts, all its basic element is to work out if it's good or bad. That's all it's basic to do, and that's when we're in the logic. And this is the Gemini. This is when Geminis fall down, because they start filling in the gaps of things they don't know. So they have a lot of doubts. They have a lot of conspiracy. They jump to conclusions quickly. They don't, you know what I mean? They're just trying to fill in what only they can fill in from the logical world, because we can only take information from the physical reality. So we start making things up, right? And this is what Geminis do, right? When they don't know something. So their mouth is very big on like talking, but we've got to be talking, from really as a channel, as something positive, as from what is, from what is we're feeling coming through us. If we start to overthink, we start to get stuck in the logic, and we start to see only what's in front of us and start to make up stories, right? So this is very much a Gemini trait. They're up against the wall when they're under pressure. They'll duck, they'll weave, they'll make up stories. They tell little fibs to get out of things. We know typical leaders that are like Geminis: Donald Trump, Boris Johnson, right? Very good at talking to masses, very good at communicating to multiple different people, but up against the wall, they're a little slippery with the truth, right? They're like, oh, it didn't happen, and they're like this. So not everybody is like that, but not everybody's like them who's a Gemini, but I'm saying that aspect of them is very typical Gemini, right? Great communicators, great that, under pressure, changing their mind. Oh, that's not what I said, and all of that. So this is the month when we really want to be in the upper octave of being a channel for the light, where we can bring down new information, new ideas that are really solving the whole thing, where it's good for everybody. What's good for me is going to be good for everybody. What's not good for me is not good for everybody, right? We're more with what we call the tree of life reality, which is above the chaos. The tree of life reality is the energetic, immortal, lives forever reality, right? We're not stuck in the good and bad reality. So this is why we don't judge, because we don't even know, right? We don't even know. So this is finalizing in Gemini. So look for new ideas that you feel are great, are very solutionary. Watch your mouth and when you're, what you're really speaking to, because these words create our reality. Yeah, what we speak is what we create. And so we want to be creating from the light, not from the 1% illusionary world that's all relative and moving anyway.
I have had a really, really interesting discussion about that yesterday with my sister. I posted a picture of me doing yoga, and then and we were sitting in a circle, and it's a healing meditation that you can do, and you channel healing energy, and then people that want to be healed can lay in the middle of this healing circle, and it looks
amazing, beautiful.
It looks strange, I get it. And my sister wrote me like, "Oh, Nicole, you should maybe delete this post because it looks very sectarian." And I was like, yeah, I know that it does, and I know what the perception is of society about stuff like that, but it's just yoga. It's praying to God and praying for healing for the world and for people, and it's just yoga. And
right. And in comes the conspiracy theory that there's something else, right? And this is what I speak to. This is what I spoke to all last year. Remember when the North Node was in Gemini, and we're all like, right, this is such a great perception, right? That the perception of something is illusionary. You perceive it as yoga, she perceives it as something else, and everybody's perceiving it. But actually, what the meditation is to really heal somebody, right? Which is this upper octave idea, right?
Totally.
So that's exactly the month of Gemini. It's exactly what can happen when there's a lot of air or Gemini in the traits. It's a great example, no? And I always use a similar example. You know, you can look at a piece of art and you're standing right next to a person and they look at it and they're telling you what they see and you're telling them what you see. nothing at all, right? The same. It's a great example. I like it, and we all do it, even in real life when there's no photo or no art. No, when we look at those people talking, or what are those two doing together, or why did they say this, and we're all with this, no?
Yeah.
So there's a tremendous amount of certainty that we need in this month. You know, certainty in our light, certainty in the things that we're going through, and not so much doubts or negative speech that separates things out and creates a big chaos. Yeah. Interestingly, I'm going to give you a little segue, because when the Egyptians and the Babylonians were very at both of their heights, right? The Babylonians were at their height, and then we have this second level civilization, which is Egypt. And then there was a third, which I can't remember, and then there was the fourth, which was the Roman Empire. So these are the four levels that we're falling down through, right? We're now still with the Roman Empire so much, but really the top level was, you know, Babylonian, and then we went into the Egyptian. And anyway, they're still like Babylonian, Egyptian was so close to each other because they were still a little bit, you know, more upwards looking. But they both believed that the greatest threat to their civilizations was conspiracy. This kind of like, oh, but it's like this and it's like that, and this kind of negative talk, because it creates separation. And so they couldn't unify their civilizations. So they used to meditate to a lot of the stars, a lot of their gods, a lot of gods, or whatever they were. Babylonians were with the monotheism, right? So the god, and really meditate for unity, to not let the separation of all this kind of talk, which is the ultimate weapon. It's a weapon of mass destruction. Yes.
It's really interesting.
Which brings us to the summer solstice, which I was going to say, so, which finishes the month of Gemini and begins the new moon of Cancer. So tell us about the new moon of the solstice, if you like, because you're much better at that than me.
Yeah, in yoga, the summer solstice, the equinox, and the winter solstice are the high holy days. We have 4 of them, and summer solstice is like in the northern hemisphere, of course. In the southern hemisphere is the winter solstice, but summer solstice in the northern hemisphere is like the most important time of the year when it comes to like really like setting intentions for the next 6 to 12 months. For us, this is like we use the energy of the sun, because the sun is in the highest point. So that means the days are the longest. There's the most light. There's the most masculine energy, to the most raw. For in Gurmukhi, the sun is Ra, is masculine,
right.
And so we use this time in order to really set intentions for the next couple of months to come and what we want to achieve. And we also use these times to meditate, because they're with so much sun energy, with so much power that is there. We want to harvest that energy into our goals. And in meditation, what you do in meditation in Kundalini Yoga is you come from this duality reality of good and bad, of constructive, destructive, of light and darkness, of love and anger and fear, like all of that. You get out of this duality into a neutral mind. This is what meditation does for you, what yoga does for you. It's allowing you to experience reality above duality. And so what we want to do is, in those days, we want to harvest these higher frequencies into our physical body and into some crystals, so they hold these vibrations, so we can walk with that power through the next 6 to 12 months.
Wow, it's very good. Very good.
Very powerful, yeah.
Very lovely. Yeah, and it's a great time of the year, because it's really like we're coming into the most amount of light and the most amount of sun, and we're really with this kind of bigger energy. And so yes, we will talk about it a little bit more next week, because it's on Monday and Tuesday next week, so we still have another podcast. Yes, coming
this week.
Yes, that's right. So, and so the new moon is on Monday and Tuesday. So it's really coinciding a lot with this, new moon as well, which is Cancer, so coming in. So very exciting to, really big energies and changing and shifting. All right, cool, excellent, good. So the next one that we have here is, and if you look at the beginning of the chart this week, the moon is in Aquarius. So the moon starts with Aquarius, which is shaking things up, being radical. My dog having a little input. Shh, shh. Axie. Thank you. Shaking things up, being radical, being different, left of center, surprises, shake-ups, big energy, being humanitarian, being in the collective, things coming out of the blue, right? So it's a mishmash of things in every sign, but that is the basics of the elements. It's also with the atom a lot, so you feel a higher vibration, right? And this is what Aquarius brings. It brings this energy. It's an energizer, right? So since the age of Aquarius, we've been with the energy, right? All with the science, the atoms, the vibrations, the nuclear, it's a lot about that. This is what age of Aquarius brings, and we're 400 years in since it started, right? So, we're very much into the age of Aquarius now. With the moon starting in Aquarius, this is very people orientated. The moon in more mundane astrology represents the people. So this means that there's more collective humanitarian or things out of the blue this week. This is things when we have protests. This is things when voting all of a sudden didn't go the way it wanted. This is the stuff where people start speaking up, or people want to move, or people want to be radical, people want to rebel, or, this is the Aquarius energy of the moon. Now, if we look already so far over the weekend here in Spain, we had a regional election of the southernmost part of Spain, which is called Andalusia. It's the stereotypical Spain, right? This is where they flamenco, they do tapas, this is the heartlands of Spain, and the stereotypical. We're not so much with like this in the north, but in the south, very much like this. Being very, what we call trabajadores. It's very left-wing, very with the worker, very with the unionist. Been that for or this week, it's moved to the center-right party. The first time, and it won by like 58% to 30%. Like no one saw this coming. Then thought maybe there's going to be some change, maybe it might be, but it's a conducive overriding win, completely in the other way that nobody saw. And they were interviewing the centre-right party in Spain. It's called the PP, the Popular Party. Mm-hmm. And they were interviewing him, and he started to cry. Right, this is because he was just so overwhelmed, right, that he won by such a margin. It was so great for his family. He's talking about all this. Just to appear even, that I'm not saying one over the other, but in France over the weekend, they had this surprise, they had this election, and surprisingly, the left party, which has been dead in Spain in France for 20 years, actually rose up and got so much votes that Macron didn't get an outright win, and he now has to he won, but not outright with enough authority, and now has to work with this party. Totally unexpected, a lot more than they thought they would get. And also all these left-wing parties, the reason they weren't winning is because they'd all split out, but they came together into a collective. And that's right, and got enough votes to now have some sway in the government again, because traditionally France has been very socialist, and they've been out of that for a long time. So here, there are surprise things coming. In Britain, there are two what we call by-elections. They're just elections of small regions. The interesting thing about them is that Boris Johnson won them both in the last election. One was typically Labour, and one has been always conservative. And both of those look like losing. One back to Labour, the other one back to a centre party called the Liberal Democrats. So there are surprise things happening in politics this week. Also over the weekend, we saw strikes in London. We will see a lot more strikes also, and what these strikes in London with the metro system, with the train, so people who drive the metro, this is going to spark a cost of living things with all the people that haven't had a wage rise, because wages have been suppressed in Britain for 10, 15 years. And so this is going to trigger a lot of things along this stuff, right? This is Aquarius moon for this week. Now, on our personal level, we will be going and, shaking things up. Things that we feel suppressed in, things that we feel boxy in, are all changing. Uranus, which rules Aquarius, is moving close to the North Node, which is the karmic destiny changer. So look for radical things, shake up things. Now, that Uranus in North Node in Taurus, which also rules the climate, environment, and the earthy financial things. So we are going to get up and down weather, right? So it'll be extremely hot, extremely cold for the next 3 or 4 years, which is what we've been struggling with for the last 2 or 3, right? This is Uranus, and it's getting close to this North Node, which is giving us the financial shake-up where nothing makes. It's inflation with no wage rises, with no supply chain working, but consumer prices, it's all a mishmash. Stock market going up and down like this. Right, so this is the mishmash of things that we're going to be experiencing, the rebellion, the up and downness, that you have to just sort of like go with it, because it's a real shake-up period, not only this week, and not only when Uranus is going past the North Node for the next month or so, and it'll probably retrograde over the North Node. That'll make it worse at the end of the year, but it'll be like this to 25, 26, right? Another 2 or 3 years of this Uranus in Taurus stuff, shaking things up, radicalizing things that were conservative, that were boxy, that were secure, that were not moving. So this is a particular heightened energy for that this week.
It almost feels like move or you will be moved.
Yes, that's right. And sometimes when we think we've got to move, we don't. And sometimes and this is the idea of Gemini as well. It's like it's moving things and shaking things and doing that as well. So there's a lot of movie shaking energy in the week and, into the next week.
I can feel that energy being present since like yesterday, like 3-4 o'clock, like it's coming in, and I can feel it getting more intense and intense. I feel to speak about for people that are driving cars at the moment. In Kundalini Yoga, what we do is we have a protection mantra. It's called Ad Gure Name, Jugat Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Siddhi Guru Deve Name. And I always call upon this protection when I drive a car, especially when the energies are so tense. I feel that there is at the moment a lot of potential for outbursts of energies. Like when there's too much tension, the tension breaks, and then
that's right, and this will show up in the environment as well. Like we've had a fire, and we have a heat wave, all of that.
Weather changes very fast, thunder and flashes, but also floods and all of that. So there is a lot of, I can feel this tension building up also with the heat wave that is currently here in Europe, at least. I can feel this tension building up. And so what I feel to say is like, really, like be smart in those times, because these, especially now over summer solstice, there's so much energy coming in. And if you do yoga, it's a little bit easier to deal with those energies, or if you're very conscious, it's a little bit easier to deal with all those energies and to maneuver yourself through these energies. But I would say be very conscious about where there is tension within your body, within the environment on the outside, and don't ignore it. You will not be able to ignore it at the moment. Like really be intentional.
Perfect. It's great. No, and slow down and don't let it shake you around too much. No, check left and right.
Yeah.
That's right. Because it's sort of, you're moving with it, but you also don't want to be swept up in it, kind of combination. Yeah. The other thing that's very interesting in the chart this week is that, we start the week at a particular point. Kabbalistically, we have a certain technique of understanding when the new energy for the week for the astrology comes in, which I won't give away. That's my secret. Of course. Keep some secrets. A woman doesn't reveal what's in her handbag, right? Yeah. No. Okay, so
Any Kabbalistic astrologer
no, we don't give away everything, right? So here, what's happening at the beginning of the astrological week is something very interesting. Is that the 9 major planets are in the bottom. If you're looking at a circle, and the middle of the circle is the horizon. Yeah, it is a line we see in the chart that goes like this. Is someone's rising, right? When you say your rising sign, it's this line, right? Now, the 9 planets are underneath the horizon, and one planet is on the top. The one planet on the top is the sun, which is leadership, which is why I'm talking a little bit about politics and people movements. You know, you've got the moon in the sun, very at the bottom, and you've got this, and then you've got the moon in Aquarius at the bottom, which is older kind of people collective karma, and then you've got the sun at the top, right, as the only sign that's in the northern horizon. In other words, this is what we're looking at. This is the focus. Then our sun is always representing the leaders, whether it's the leaders of a company, the leaders of a community, the leaders of your town, the leaders of your country, the leaders of the world, whoever they are. So we have this old collective stuff, right, which is the bottom half of the chart, all of the old things that are kept within or to come from before, and we are looking back at things and then looking at our leaders. So this is the time when we really reflect on the leadership that we're seeing, the leadership that we're experiencing, and also the leaders who we are. Right, so this is the time when we were really looking at how do I want to shine. The sun is about shining. How do I want to shine in the world? How do I want to lead the world? How do I want the world to be led? How do I want to go out and maybe shine more in my community, more in my reality, and put myself as more being seen? I know that's a bit like wokey, and I don't really like those phrases. You know, how I'm not seen and all of that. I think that's a bit, not really spiritual. But it is about having a presence and having a voice and having a sense of I'm here in the world and this is what I stand for, right? So this is going to be, I think the politics, there's been a couple of politics already over the weekend. I think that will show up even more. But outside of that, it could be about how am I taking my stand in the world.
I love it. That makes so much sense to me.
Yeah. So think about where you need to be. The sun is about being brave, about being valiant, about taking risks, about striving out a little bit more, maybe where I need to share more or move things more. So that is the kind of week that we will have. So I think why we see sort of things like a couple of protests, a couple of political upheavals, a couple of weather changes, the finances, Bitcoin is going wonky, the stock market's all wonky. It's all of that shaking, but over the top, who is leading this? Where is the new thing to go forward, right? So, which is kind of what we're missing, right? So this week may help to give some clarity around that as people. How do I need to take my life forward while everything is so in an upheaval?
Mm-hmm.
To add a little bit more to that, we have Venus square Saturn. Venus is my love, or my relationships, and Saturn is blocked. It's like when it's square, something is square with the Saturn, it's like a lockjaw. That means it just never moves. So we're going to feel this week, this is a kind of different message, but we'll also feel where our love or our relationships or our finances, very Venusian things, are blocked. We're going to feel stuck with it. Now, this is, as an energy in the context of all the other energies, this is really bringing up the financial or blockages that exist for people. This is going to start to stir, what are you doing about the cost of living? What are you going to do about this? But we really have to internalize it. As we said last week, it's all the friction of us looking maybe too much out at what governments can do, what other people can do, or how other people can help me. And we need to internalize. That's what the sun will do. It'll help me internalize how I can push out a little bit more. So I'll feel my blockages, but I need to understand how I can move my love and money issue.
Mm-hmm.
and take a bigger, braver risk with it, or do something different out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
Venus is trining Neptune. So anything that trines Neptune gets this big transcendent, easy energy. So there's the coexistence in the chart of a blockage, and also how I can transcend that blockage with my love and relationship and financial issues. So again, this Neptune feeling means I can transcend blockages, I can get over blockages, I can feel where I need to move, I can be more aligned. The Neptune stuff is more with my essence and my transcendence and my gifts. So Venus is there trining, which means here, this is a light-filled way of moving those issues. So simultaneously, we'll get the blockage and the way to transcend it.
It feels very much to me like the Venus-Saturn square is on a lower vibrational reality.
Yes.
Where when you use this time of this sun, and if you become the leader that you are in within your essence, you will be able to come into this Neptunian energy and to maneuver over the Saturn blocks. That's how it feels.
Yes.
It feels,
and it picks up with the energy last week as well. How do I glide into something,
yes,
right? And now this is a little bit more with a bit more punch with it. Yes,
yeah,
it's very that. So, it's financial issues all the way around till middle of next year with the and environment issues. Sorry, as well until the middle of next year. So, where we have the North Node in Taurus, it's very 3D related, particularly with the environment, the earth, my physical body, and my money. This physicality stuff, right? So all of it, where the North Node is there, is shifting. So we will be making changes. We will be seeing faults in the system. We will be making the necessary alignments that we need to do. So there'll be, a lot of instability with this. This is what the North Node does. It's a karmic destiny changer. It means we're going to move in a whole new way around these issues. Mm-hmm. So all of the chart is saying it's very unstable, but you have an answer.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like the answer for, like, whenever I speak about summer solstice and this week coming up to summer solstice, I say to the people, like, do what you want to see come into fruition in 6 to 12 months. Like, and using this energy, like focusing on this higher vibrational energy, on the constructive energies, on like do in this time, like if you want to, I don't know, for example, I'm currently writing a book. For sure, I will today and tomorrow be writing on my book. I will work on my new homepage. I will work on Ally Vision and my Ally on the homepage, on the redesign. We will put that out this week. So we use the summer solstice window in order to get those energies into the 3D reality things of your higher purpose. Or I'm currently working on meditation shawls because I feel there is not so many very beautiful meditation shawls available. So I started doing that. I really work on the things that I want to see grow during this time. And this is also that's how you, for me at least, energetically, when there is like very destructive or very difficult energies around me, what I do is I really focus on where do I want to go, and with the focus on that, I don't let myself be destructed by that.
It's that certainty of the bigger force, isn't it? Yes. That you're working with, and against the higgledy-piggledy of what's happening around you.
Yeah.
Yes, totally. Yes. All right, cool. Well, that's it from me, and I think we've the gist of the week, no?
Totally. I wish you all a wonderful summer solstice. May the forces be with you.
Yes. May the force be with you.
Time. Okay, bye.
Ciao, everybody.
Bye.